On the edge of a quiet valley, where the golden wheat fields stretched as far as the eye could see, there was an old farm. And on that farm, in a small wooden stable at the far end, lived a horse named Bram. Bram was not young. He was not fast. He was not strong the way he once had been. His coat was dusty. His stable had no fresh hay. His water trough had more mud than water. The farmer who once cared for him had fallen ill, and Bram, old, forgotten, and alone, had almost nothing left. Almost. That autumn, a great drought came to the valley. The river slowed to a trickle. The crops turned dry and pale. Every animal on the farm began to struggle. The little lamb in the next field had no grass to eat. She pressed her small face against the fence, looking for anything green. The old dog by the farmhouse gate could no longer walk to the river to drink. His bowl had been empty for 2 days. The mother hen and her 7 chicks huddled in a corner of the yard, too weak to scratch for food. Each of them was suffering quietly, and none of them asked for help, because in hard times, everyone assumes that everyone else has it just as bad. But Bram saw them, every single one. One evening, Bram looked at his own corner of the stable. He had a small pile of dry hay, enough for perhaps 2 more days, a bucket of water, just barely enough for himself, and a patch of thin grass just outside his stable door. Not much, truly, almost nothing. A small voice inside him said, "You barely have enough for yourself, Bram. If you give it away, what will you have?" He stood very still for a long time. Then he thought of the lamb's face pressed against the fence. He thought of the old dog's empty bowl. He thought of the 7 small chicks, and the small voice changed. It said, "What kind of life is it to keep everything for yourself when the ones beside you have nothing at all?" Bram walked out of his stable. He carried a mouthful of hay in his teeth and gently pushed it under the fence to the little lamb. He picked up his water bucket carefully with his mouth and walked it slowly to the old dog by the gate. He tilted it until the dog could drink. He used his great hooves to scratch the dry earth near the hen and her chicks, turning up insects and seeds buried just beneath the surface. He worked through the night. No one asked him to. No one was watching. No one would ever know. By morning, Bram stood in his empty stable. No hay, no water, just the thin patch of grass outside his door. And even that he had shared. He lowered his great gray head. He was tired. He was hungry. But something inside him felt full. The next morning, something unexpected happened. The lamb, with her small strength, had pulled tufts of wild grass from beyond the fence and left them outside Bram's stable door. The old dog, who had not walked in days, had made his way to the stream at first light and come back carrying a fallen pear in his mouth and left it where Bram could reach it. The mother hen had scratched all night beside Bram's patch and uncovered a whole bed of fresh clover hidden beneath the dry soil. None of them had organized it. None of them had spoken about it. They had each simply seen what Bram had done, and without a word, they did the same. The farm that had been silent with suffering was now moving again, not because the drought had ended, but because one old horse had decided that having little was not a reason to give nothing. We tell ourselves we will give when we have more, when things are easier, when the time is right. But the ones who change the world are rarely the ones who had everything. They are the ones who had almost nothing and gave it anyway. Because generosity was never about what you have. It is about what you choose to do with whatever little is in your hands. So the Next time you feel too empty to give, remember Bram. The most powerful gifts come from the emptiest hands.